In a quiet corner of the forest stood a sparkling restaurant, as dazzling as the stars above. Its name was just as grand, Ricky's Culinary Palace. The head chef was a pink pig named Ricky. He wore a crisp white chef's coat and a tall hat. Every tool in his kitchen looked like a piece of art, and every dish he crafted resembled a painting. As Ricky polished the stove, he muttered to himself, "Perfect, perfect, just a touch more truffle oil. Only the finest for my royal cuisine." He meticulously designed his menus, with names as elaborate and noble as royalty, like amethyst apple with garnet gold wine Emperor's Choice. From color pairing and plating to fragrance, Ricky pursued perfection in everything. His dream was to become the greatest chef in the forest, admired by all. But lately, something had been bothering him. Customers no longer paid attention to the taste. They were too busy taking photos for social media, letting their food go cold. They praised his decorations, but no one truly savored the flavors. One day, the king of the forest, a majestic lion, entered the restaurant. He sat in the center and commanded a plate of Ricky's signature dish, amethyst apple with garnet gold wine Emperor's Choice. As the dish was served, the lion's eyebrows furrowed. "What is this? Is that a mushroom?" the lion roared, standing up. Ricky hurried to explain, "This is amethyst apple with garnet gold wine Emperor's Choice. The mushroom enhances the finish. It's a special variety I carefully selected." The lion slammed the table. "I hate mushrooms more than anything. Just seeing one makes it hard to breathe." At the next table, a scruffy, tired-looking wolf named Gray had just taken a sip of soup and jumped from the lion's outburst. The restaurant fell silent. Ricky's face turned bright red. He rushed forward to apologize, but the lion stormed out, leaving the gourmet dish untouched. Meanwhile, Gray, dirty and clearly worn out, quietly continued sipping his soup. Irritated, Ricky marched over and snapped, "What do you know about cuisine? People like you don't deserve my food." Gray simply looked at him, silently, then put down his bowl and slowly left the restaurant. A few days later, a heavy rain poured down. The river overflowed, flooding the animals' homes. Cold wind seeped into every corner, and everyone was forced to flee. By evening, many soaked and shivering animals gathered at Ricky's restaurant, queuing for a hot meal. Yet Ricky still insisted on culinary artistry. He plated slowly, carved decorative shapes, and carefully arranged colors. By the time each dish was served, it had already gone cold. "It's freezing, we just want something warm," whispered a little rabbit. Disappointed, the animals quietly left one by one. Their footsteps echoed on the damp floor, as if something was being carried away from Ricky's heart. Late into the night, Ricky sat alone in the empty restaurant, eating his own amethyst apple with garnet gold wine Emperor's Choice. The more he thought, the angrier he became. They just don't understand. They don't understand art. They don't understand me. But inside, he still felt empty. Unable to bear the stillness, he took his umbrella and stepped into the rain. The storm had started to clear, as he wandered down a small path at the foot of the mountain. Suddenly, he spotted a place glowing warmly in the distance. Smoke rose, and an inviting aroma filled the air. It was a shabby wooden hut. A long line of animals waited outside, each holding a bowl with hopeful smiles. Outside, a large pot of soup simmered. A familiar figure stirred the broth. It was Gray. Ricky stared, stunned. He walked closer, and the soup scent hit him. Inside the pot were assorted vegetables, fruit peels, and even half a sweet potato. "This is such a mess. How could it possibly taste good?" Ricky couldn't help blurting out. He squeezed into the crowd, grabbed a ladle, and took a sip. The flavor was light, clear and warm, it melted the cold right out of his heart. Shocked, he turned to Gray. "Who are you? What fine restaurant did you come from? How did you make this soup?" Startled, Gray shyly replied, "Well, this soup isn't exactly perfect. It's just bits and pieces everyone had when they fled. We just tossed them in. We're only missing your ingredient now." Gray smiled. "Didn't you have some mushrooms? Add a few for me." Ricky hesitated. "If I give you mushrooms, you have to tell me your secret ingredient." Gray nodded, his eyes sincere. "Actually," he said, "the most important part of this soup isn't the ingredients, it's the little bits of heart from everyone. The carrots were carried by a little squirrel, and the spinach was rescued from the mud by a baby elephant. And your mushrooms? They are essential too. When everyone's willing to offer just a little for each other, even the humblest ingredients can create the warmest flavor." At that moment, Ricky fell silent. He looked at the animals gathered around the pot, smiling, talking, sharing warmth. Even the lion, unaware there were mushrooms in the soup, was slurping it down happily. Never had Ricky seen food bring such connection. The next morning, the sun came out. Ricky returned to his restaurant and rolled up his sleeves. He stripped away the ornate, time-consuming dishes and scratched off every menu item that required 3 hours of carving. He invited Gray and the animals to help him create a brand new menu. Ricky looked at the steaming pot and smiled. "You know, for so long, I thought a perfect dish had to be flawless, visually, technically, everything." Gray stirred the soup and handed Ricky a spoon. "And now?" Ricky tasted it, nodded slowly, then replied, "Now I think, the perfect dish just needs to be shared." Gray grinned. "And a little mushroom never hurts, huh?" Ricky laughed, for the first time in days. "Fine, you win. But next time, I get to name the dish." Gray raised an eyebrow. "As long as it's not another 20-word royal title." The dishes changed. They became simpler, warmer, and easier to enjoy. The names were no longer elaborate, but friendly and familiar: forest veggie soup, cozy braised radish, and steaming friendship fried rice. The kitchen was no longer a one-man show. Now everyone pitched in. The rabbit chopped vegetables, the bear carried rice, the birds helped decorate. At the end of each day, they packed up the leftovers and delivered them to animals still suffering on the streets. Ricky's heart had never felt softer. He finally understood. Being a real chef wasn't about making the most glamorous dishes, but about creating something that made people feel warm. That kind of meal would be remembered for a long, long time. And that pot of soup, that rainy night, and every tiny offering from each friend, became the most important flavor in Ricky's life.